Welcome to JOLO, everyone. We just finished cooking a gorgeous eggplant rollatini, which could be a great second course or a main course. We're going to make now a main course. We're going to make pesto haddock. But we had some leftovers from the last eggplant rollatini, so I was telling the viewers, let's not waste these beautiful breadcrumbs. We've already slightly seasoned them with oregano and salt and pepper, but now we're going to make the vegetable for the potentially the haddock. We're going to do a little pasta with seasonal vegetables like a pasta primavera with the haddock. But this nice roasted tomato, people love this. So I just have panko breadcrumbs that already have slightly seasoned oregano and salt and pepper ingredients in here. Going to add a little olive oil so it kind of sticks together. And then I'm going to add some fresh basil to it, some basil chiffonade. So grab some of the basil here. What goes better with tomatoes than basil? So just going to roll that up. You get nice, beautiful ribbons. So it's nice and integrated. Look at that, beautiful. Now I'm going to take some Parmesan. I've already shredded some here. Add some Parmesan cheese to that. And I like a little bit of lemon juice, just for a little bit of acid. So you have that nice anise quality or licorice quality from that basil, that nuttiness from the Parmesan cheese, the olive oil is kind of nutty and spicy. This will wake it all up a little bit. That nice little kiss of lemon juice. So now all we're going to do is mix that up. If I had a spoon, here we go. So it's going to mix this up. I might need some more olive oil, but I think that's looking pretty good. So you want this to kind of hold together. Then I'm going to put a little bit of garlic last minute, kind of right on top of the tomato. I'll show you what I mean. So we're going to get that nice and sliced. I don't like to do the whole smash and then bits and pieces. You know, you could get a big chunk of that. At least you can see this garlic and move it out of the way. Especially if you have a date that night, you don't want garlic breath. A piece of garlic stuck in your molar. So all we do is take a tomato. We're going to pour out here. So you can use both sides. Don't be wasting. I mean, you see what inflation's doing to all of our produce and our foods. So I just poured that out. I'm going to slice it in half, just like this. I'm going to you use a pan like this, super easy, a little high. And I'm just going to briefly, any pan I can put right back in the oven. So I'm just going to use this pan here to make my life easy. So now I'm going to salt and pepper this. I like to season things like I'm going to eat it by itself. If I'm going to eat that by itself, I want this to taste good by itself. If I'm going to have this tomato, it's about as much salt as I want in that tomato. I'm going to put a little bit of pepper. Take a little bit of olive oil. And olive oil is a very low smoke point. So you don't want that getting too hot. You'll turn that almost brownish. It's going to taste rancid and bitter. So I'm just going to kind of sear that tomato briefly. So, and I'm going to use these little pieces of garlic just to go right on top of each tomato. Cooking for two, beautiful. So here's that olive oil, basil, panko breadcrumb mix. So you don't want it to go too much. So to me, that's cooked enough. I just want a little sear on there. I have the oven on already at 375. This doesn't take long to cook. Look at that. I just caramelize some of the sugar in that tomato. Take some of this garlic, just like this. A little bite here and there. Huh? Like that. Super easy. I'm going to take this. You can use your hands. It's all right. Put some right on top. Now you're not wasting all those breadcrumbs, because panko ain't cheap, you know. I prefer that over the Italian. I just made my Italian breadcrumbs. Why did I buy it in the store? I'm gonna take that and bake it in the oven. See you soon, buddy. All right, so that's what we're gonna do for maybe a vegetable. So now I'm gonna get my primavera ready. So I'm using just a regular zucchini, cut the ends off. You don't have to do it this way, but I prefer to core out all of the seeds. Otherwise, you're gonna have with a lot of water. So cut it in half so your life's easy. Just straight down like that. Take your spoon. This is all just nothing but water content. So we're gonna take that and just core out with the spoon all of those seeds. You know, all these little steps add up. You know, whether it's putting a little bit of salt in your sliced eggplant to take out the bitterness and some of the fluids, or just taking out, because all this is just going to turn into liquid. And then all your flavors are going to be off because you weren't counting all that water in your vegetable. So you know, there's no reason to like get dangerous. So I let the bottom do the work, nice flat surface. like this, hands up high, straight down. You can't cut yourself. Look at all that water content. And there's not a lot of flavor in the seeds. I mean, I'm not sure what vegetable you like the seeds, other than pomegranates. I'm not a big fan of seeds. So we're gonna take all that seed out of there. Just like that, super easy. If you want, you could take and make a sauce out of that, a vegetable marinara. Take all that if you want, put it in your tomato sauce, saute in some olive oil and garlic, add tomato sauce, add a bunch of veggies. It's almost like a ratatouille. You can put that over your pasta. You have a vegetarian coming over. So one more. There you go. Scoop and score. There you go. So that is ready to go. So I'm just going to slice those up to get ready to make a little pasta. I've already cooked the pasta. There's no reason to have you watch me boil water for 12 minutes and then cook the pasta al dente for 10. So this is what we're going to use for the haddock, which is the main course. I'm going to toss the pasta in one of these, this one here. And before I do that, I'm just going to get this going. You want basically 1/4 inch slices. I mean, if you want it a little bit smaller, you could, but I like this with the pasta. So these almost symmetrical. So we're just going to slice it. Super easy. That's the zucchini. Here's the summer squash. Voila. And one more. I don't want too much vegetable in there. So I could use these. I could roast these, put them in the oven and roast them when those tomatoes come out. So what I'm going to do now is I like my vegetables a little bit of butter. So I'm going to take some butter. And scientifically, they say butter is better with vegetables because it helps the nutrients in the vegetables stick to your blood. You can Google that. I'm not giving any type of medical advice, but I have read that multiple times. So I always use butter. Plus, I like it. It's delicious. So we're going to just saute these very gently while we make the pesto. And I'm going to salt and pepper those. Just a little bit of salt. Always season up high so you can see what you have. You're getting down there low like this, you're only going to get a couple of the vegetables. Up here, you get it all. You've never seen a snowstorm come and just hit one house, right? So that's the vegetable that's going to go into the pasta. Now to make the pesto. I mean, what's better than pesto in the summer? All the basil in your garden. So the main ingredient usually that makes it a pesto are the pine nuts. I like pine nuts, but I prefer cashew nuts in my pesto. To me, it adds a richness, a creaminess, a sweetness. So here, making it for 2-3 people. So I added about a 1/4 cup of cashews. So what I want to do with the cashews is, and this blender is amazing. I forget the name of it. I've got it on Amazon. It's called Ganiza. It's unbelievable. And it's like $40. It's that big Robo-Coup, like Cuisinart. I'm not trying to put them out of business, but look at that thing. It's unbelievable. And it's super easy to clean and manage. I mean, it's crazy. So the first thing I want to do is get that stuff. I'm just going to toss this. I don't want to burn my butter. So we're just going to saute. I don't want this cooked to kingdom come. So you want some bite back in your vegetables. You want them al dente. So, I mean, I'm just going to take that off the heat now, shut this off. So I'm cooking. It'll rest there. It'll still cook a little bit in that carryover heat. So anyway, I want that super ground up. So that's kind of where you want to start. So if you put the basil in there with this, you're never going to get to that texture with the nuts first. So now we're going to take the basil. This is the star of the show, right? So pesto is all about the basil. So get some nice fresh basil. I know if you all have it in the garden, you know what happens come like mid-July, like what am I going to do with all this basil? And when you make this pesto, this freezes so good. So you could take this, put them in ice cube trays. You can pop out a little one every time you're making dinner for 1 or 2. Pop out 2 cubes, put it in your pasta, put it on your tomatoes. It's so versatile. Or you can just freeze it in a Tupperware and take out a scoop every time you need it. It works unbelievable. So I'm going to take, for this here, I want it to be basil. Like I said, it's the star of the show. You don't want the stems. So like here's a stem. You don't want that. It's kind of bitter. And not to mention, it's not very appetizing when you bite into it. So a little bit more basil here. And before I put this in here, so it doesn't get too mealy, I'm going to chop it up first, just to give the blender a head start. Because if I put too much oil in here to begin with, if you cook at home, you know about emulsification. If this was canola oil and I whipped it and added a little bit of fluid, you turn it into mayonnaise. So you don't want to do that. So I'm just going to take this. So that's at least 1 bag from your grocery store. I've done this a million times, that's not enough. So, figure 2 bags of basil. Yep, take the stems off. And 1 more should do the trick. Voila, okay. So this will be a beautiful pesto. So, like this. And chiffonade again. Perfect. So now, that's enough basil. Do this to your liking, garlic. So this is where I am going to cut that, because you want this fully, like that. How easy is that? Put 3 cloves of garlic in. Figure 1 per person. Mash it down. Like that. A little rough chop. Because that blender is going to do all the work for us. For that food processor. Garlic goes in. So I have 3 ingredients. I have basil, I have garlic, and I have cashews. Now we know we need salt. Just a little bit, because the cashews were salted, and the cashews were salted. I added salt there, and now we're going to add some lemon juice, which is going to call out some of the saltiness as well. So I'm going to add about the juice of half a lemon, like that. So now we're going to take, here it is, top. I'm going to blend that. That should just be enough fluid to help get the basil incorporated with the nuts. See that? Like I said, if I added the olive oil in here now, that would all be milky looking. So we don't want milky looking pesto. I mean, traditionally they make it with a mortar and pestle. And they just kind of grind it and grind it and grind it. So now I think it's ready for the Parmesan cheese, which is the next main ingredient. So here you get 2 bunches of the basil, you get a 1/4 cup or so of the cashews. I'm gonna add about a 1/2 cup of shredded Parmesan cheese. Do not buy that junk in a green can. No offense, all trademarks respectfully acknowledged, but I mean, you want it to be authentic, take your Parmesan cheese and get yourself a nice little grater, this one here, and just grate it. How easy is that? So all these little steps make a big difference. So now I'm gonna incorporate all this. Voila. And now I'm gonna, just a little bit of olive oil, just to add a little bit of fluid. So that's probably 2-3 teaspoons, or maybe a tablespoon or so. Like that. And then we're gonna kind of take it off the sides. And now, some more olive oil. Hear those tomatoes? I can hear them. To me, those tomatoes are done. So there's that. I'm just gonna pull the tomatoes out of the oven. You can set timers, or you just pay attention in the kitchen. So to me, look at that. Oh, voila. Huh? That look delicious? And by the way, this is gonna be ready to go when the other vegetables are ready. So, and you didn't waste those panko breadcrumbs. So now I add the oil to the pesto, and I'm gonna get this going. Maybe not. All right, so there we go. So now we have a beautiful pesto. Nutty, Parmesan-y, it's textural. So you could take this. I'm gonna taste a little bit. Perfect. So salty, the acid of the lemon juice, nuttiness of the Parmesan, the licorice, anise of the basil, creaminess of the cashews. That's done. So you can add more basil. If you don't like cashews, use pine nuts. People make it with walnuts. You can do it with pistachios. I'm not a big fan of the walnuts. All right, so tomatoes are ready. Now we're gonna make the pesto haddock. So you need haddock. And here it is, right from the Atlantic. So I'm gonna turn the heat on. There's an old expression in the restaurant business: the best way to cook fish is give it to a slow waiter and have them walk it through a hot kitchen. So you don't want too much heat on this. You kind of want it a little bit low and slow. So I'm just going to season this with salt and pepper. There's the salt. There's the pepper. I'm going to flip it and do the same thing. Voila. So there's your haddock seasoned. So here what I don't want to do is burn the haddock. So I'm going to use grapeseed oil. about 4 parts of rapeseed oil and 1 part olive oil. It'll give that olive-y flavor, but keep the olive oil from burning. So you can add to this chicken stock or vegetable stock. I'm just going to go with the white wine and the lemon juice. To me, it's just enough because you're going to have all the nuttiness and the creaminess and the oil from the pesto that will be released. So I'm also going to get my veggies going again. And be careful with the wine, it's going to alcohol. There you go. So, and if that became an issue, you could just cover it with another pan. I have pans there, you just cover it like this, which we're going to do ultimately anyway. So, just going to put a little bit more olive oil in there. We're going to sear that. That'll take about 3 minutes on that side to sear. And then once we flip it, it's finished. It's super easy. So, next time use water, not the wine. You see what happens in your kitchen all by yourself. So, this is done. So, these vegetables are done. I'm going to add a little bit of color, like green and yellow. I'm going to take a tomato and just... So, you can smell that. Get a nice little brown on the veggies. You want to see if it's delicious, right? You want to taste it. A little bit of salt. Just a little bit, some of that Parmesan cheese. Just a little bit. All right, that's fine, shut the heat off. I can hear this thing's cooking really good. So a little bit of sauce, the pesto. So now, I want to take this pasta, and then take one of these like this, kind of scoop it in. Yeah, I don't think it's this crazy fancy. Like that. So you can twirl it up a little bit. Make a nice little nest. Get a bigger so it's not flopping all over the place. So you got that, and now we're going to take this beautiful haddock. Put that nice sauce. Some of that on there. That beautiful tomato. Still nice and warm. Like that. And then, like this. There's a little bit of Parmesan cheese. Especially on the pasta. It's already on the pesto, right? So I'll finish with a little bit more of that. Got lemon. Then I'll take just a little bit of this basil chiffonade. So fresh basil. That should be enough there. Just a little bit more squeeze of lemon. Oh, there you go. Just nice and fresh. Tasting. And just a kiss of olive oil. And there is your pesto haddock. Nice roasted tomato and pasta primavera. Meal fit for a queen. And with that, I would pair a lightly oaked Chardonnay, or this would be great with an Albarino, even something super, or Gruner Veltliner, peppery, spicy, arugula-y, to go with the green and the pesto and the anise, or I like a nice Chardonnay, so you can have a Burgundy even. So it's super versatile because of all the ingredients. So hopefully you enjoy this, super easy cooking, and welcome back to JOLO.